What's up, mateys? Welcome to the Mark Lesko Podcast. I am your host, J. Rudd, and this is Pirates Central. Pirates are mauled by the Tigers, and then they are wrangled by the Rangers. Oh. I mean, what's more there to say about it? Seems like a broken record, right? The Pirates just constantly have the same problems. It's not like this is some problem that comes about every other series. It's not like this is some injury bug. This is like slumps or nothing. This is just the same routine each series. They have very good pitching, and in some cases, clunkers here and there. In at least the Tigers series, again, the Tigers have arguably one of the best offenses in all of Major League. But, you look at each of these series game by game. The first one, they had, the matchup of Haney versus Myers, and, Haney got dinged up. They went, I believe, 3-0, 4-0, and then we came back and answered with 2 runs and then kept it close. No, we went from 3-2. I do remember that. So then we tied 3-3, and then they brought in Majinski, and then it got completely away from him, and guy wants to be a starter, and even in the bullpen, that's just not allowed. Like, when you come in and you're supposed to be able to close a game out, and again, even with the Tigers offense, which is very impressive this season, they just had no answer. Everything they threw, they got hit, and they got dinged, banged up all over the place. So they lost that game 7-3, and then with the next matchup, I know it was Skubal versus it was Burrow. Was it Burrow? Oh, I can't remember exactly, but just they had another clunker of a series. It's just every other guy was getting hits, and I know that by the end of it was like 7-0, and we kind of got 2 excuse me kind of last inning stuff, like 2 runs, just minuscule, and then at the end it was 9-2. One of the worst, matchups and performances I've pretty much seen all season. It's not one thing when, they made the announcement that Bart was coming back for this series, and I am starting to notice a little bit of a difference between when Bart calls a game and when Davis calls a game. Davis doesn't have Bart's bat, but Bart somehow just does not collectively call a game as consistently as Davis does. There just seems to be more runs scored when Bart is behind the bag. So in my humblest opinion, I mean, again, we're just trying to find ways to get this team better. I personally think we may have to consider like DHing Bart and let Davis catch, and maybe put McCutcheon out in right field, and maybe have, I know Reynolds is back in left field. So I feel like that would probably be the best way to handle that situation with this lineup. And of course, with the matinee game and the doubleheader, because they got rained out in the one game before, so they had a doubleheader on Thursday, and the last game, Skeens does what he always does. He comes out and performs like a all-star elite pitcher, and I think he had 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. I know he gave up 2 runs, and by the end of it, they tied it up. We had to go into extra innings, and we ended up having enough hits to collectively get something going, and we ended up winning 8-4. So, we lost that series 2 out of 3. I kind of expected that. I kind of predicted that one. But this one, this series, I was expecting them to have a winning record. I thought we were going to take 2 out of 3. And the first night, just absolutely unacceptable. I mean, yes, I know DeGrom's a great pitcher. That is never going to not be the case. Jake is a very consistent guy. His whole career has been pretty steady. Couple of bad outings, maybe a stretch once or twice in his career, but he showed up in that series and just took care of business. So the offense does continue to do what the offense does. I'm going to start calling it, what is it, like maybe ball, or maybe some like walk ball. Like, it just seems like up in the air kind of like approach to how you want to get on base. And it seems like they would rather take a walk than try to hit on. And I just don't understand. Like, the one game it was like, what, 9 hits, 9 singles, and you had 2 runs scored. That's not going to do it. I mean, you can't just rely solely on just getting a hit. And because it just ends up being a single and you're just kind of moving guys from base to base, you're not scoring anybody. And it just really causes so much inconsistencies and just it doesn't produce. It doesn't give you anything to really look for. I mean, again, with this first pitch discussion, which being the overview of this game, of the series is, like, that's really what this all has been so far. I just don't understand how we can put this team on the field and just say, like, this is good enough. I mean, what did I say? I saw just a couple of hours ago that Sherrington put out something about this season saying that there's still a winning formula. Regardless of if there's a formula, I mean, in the science world, formulas can also be hypotheticals and hypotheses. Like, they could just be, maybe that's an idea, but that doesn't mean that the idea is real yet. So you say a winning formula, no. A winning record is what really constitutes results. Like, the record is what you were looking at, and we are right now 17 games under 500. We are 31-48. Yes, today was so refreshing. I mean, it was against a pitcher that, you know, Leiter, he has a decent record. I mean, I'm not saying the guy's a schlub or anything, but it took so much emphasis from the bottom of the order. I mean, what did they have? I think Pham had 3 hits in a game. And I know Frazier had a decent amount of hits. Hayes had a decent amount of hits today. I think Reynolds finally came alive again. He had a lot of good bats, and there was extra base hits. There was a lot of doubles in this game today, and it culminated into an 8-3 victory, which is really nice to see. But once again, you lost that series, being 2-6. I mean, or what would that be? 2-4? Yeah, 2-4. That's just not. That's not going to get you anywhere. These last 10 games have been 3-7. It's definitely going to take a lot more than that to try to be competitive. I just don't know what it could be exactly that is going to produce more for the offense. Like, there's no hitting coach. There's no philosophy that I can think of that is going to improve what the Pirates are putting themselves through. I mean, listen, I understand it might just be in one particular game, but, like, when you watch something like this right here kind of gives you the message and the attitude of what's been happening this whole season.
Garcia to follow here. And that's who's going to come up with 2 men on. And that is the 7th error by Cruz. Instead of first and second, it's a run in and a man at third and nobody out.
So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely some of the more bigger concerns when you watch a team do what they do like that. Again, anyone can have a bad game and anyone can have that happen to them, but it amazes me how that always seems to creep into the conversation with this team on a series basis. There's always some game that could have been better if this hadn't happened. Again, that game yesterday with Keller being 1-10 now with an ERA of 4.04, the man has given you like 12 quality starts, for crying out loud, and you can only muster up 2.2 runs a game for him. I just am absolutely amazed at how you can have one thing go right and the other not. I mean, I'm just saying that right there seems to me like this is a team that is not trying to put any effort into making this winning team. Like, they could say it all they want, but the results speak for themselves. The record speaks for itself. The decision-making, once again, does make me wonder how much of this is Ben Sherrington still having as much of a voice if he's always had one, because their mistakes keep creeping up, no matter who the manager is. I mean, I think at one point it made sense with Don Kelly doing what he was doing, but afterwards we just seem like we're falling into the same patterns again. The choices we make for the bullpen, the lineups always seem to be changing again. Like, there's no consistency with it. this is just a team that is just not searching for an identity. This is a team that knows that they have flaws, knows that they have to make corrections, but they also know they're limited. They also know that what would take to make a winning team would be for an owner, and I hate using this, but people seem to always want to flock back to it because that's where it always goes to, that an owner that doesn't spend money to make it better. I mean, you're looking at a record, you're going towards a 100 loss record. Like, that is absolutely unnecessary for a team that's in the 6th year of a rebuild. There's so many things that need to change, as opposed to, like, what are we doing correctly, what we do right. And we do have a lot of things right, but by the time we fix the other side will be needed fixed again. It's a horrible pattern that just seems to always make them have a reason to be losers or reasons to not have a winning season. I want to try my darndest to make this a positive, upbeat thing. And yes, having a game today like it did happen, and they mustered up some hits. They had a lot of extra base hits today for a change, and it was really refreshing to see they can. But again, it's amazing how they always seem to do that when they're kind of out of it. Like, no, there's no pressure, so let's just go out there and just perform when we want to. Like, I'm not saying that players are being selfish, but I think they already know the situation. I don't think any player that is a part of this type of situation is not aware of it. And I can only imagine what it's like for these guys to have to go out there and answer questions, or people when they go on like the sports shows or anything like that, like when they have to answer why you guys struggle, and it's just like the process and the norm, and it needs to all change. It just needs to pretty much all change offensively. And again, you're looking at a team that is going into the division, like the next series is against Milwaukee in Milwaukee, and that's always been the house of horrors for the Pirates. And then they come home and they have to play a series against the Mets, who are finally figuring things out. They were slumping, and naturally they're going to get back on board, and they're going to probably take it out on us. So you're looking at two tough teams that you have to go through once again this coming week. But again, this whole series has been basically them showing us that this is their formula. They're not changing. They have no immediate plans to do anything different. They're just going to keep going through the pace, and this is what we're going to be seeing for quite some time. I wish I could say something else, but this is all they want to do. So, but for the 7th inning stretch, let's look at like another way to like make it better. I want to say with the 7th inning stretch, my discussion will be looking at guys like Paul Skeens, and you see like what the Pirates have collectively attained over the past several years. You know, when I started rewatching Pirates, like really committing myself back in 2009 when Andrew McCutchen first came onto the scene, when you looked at that particular year, I know the names Neil Walker were popular, the Pittsburgh kid. I know Pedro Alvarez, El Toro was a big name. He had a lot of big hits, but if he didn't have a home run, he had a strikeout. And that was then the years when they went 105 loss season in 2010. And even that season, when they were 105, just seemed like that made sense for them to lose 105 because, again, there was just something about how the game was played that they just couldn't grasp. And it seemed like they needed to fix their ways, and they just didn't have that talent as of yet. And surely enough, as years went on, what made the playoff years so great for the Pirates in 13, 14, and 15? It was because they had a collection of good draft picks, and basically every single castaway that they acquired, you know, from 12, 13, and 14 were all hits. I mean, they all landed in Pittsburgh, like with A.J. Burnett, Russell Martin, Francisco Liriano, I remember Marlon Byrd came on in the playoff year. It was like they just accumulated a lot of players, and then they got a lot of bullpen arms, and all of a sudden they just had one of the more threatening teams in terms of their pitching. They knew they had enough offense to do something collectively, and they used their starting rotation and bullpen. I believe that if we look back on those winning years with the playoffs, we had a lot of one-run wins. Like, we had a lot of one-run losses this year, and I think it's been the kind of the polar opposite of those years. And we're doing almost the same exact thing we did during those playoff years, but our offense can't do anything now. Like, that's the thing. We keep coming back to it no matter how you try to spin this. Like, these elite players that we have now, like, I looked at this rotation when it started out in the season, when you had Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, Johan Oviedo, and Luis Ortiz, right before they got all like traded away or got hurt. This was absolutely a rotation you could absolutely do something with. I mean, if you could just muster some hits, but we decided to put $4 million towards Tommy Pham, who for the first game in 2 months that he finally has gotten collectively a great game going. I mean, you need to see that for 3-4 weeks straight for it to even be relevantly worth what he's doing. So ultimately, you're looking at all this elite talent that you had on the pitching this year. Now you're just settling for what you can bring up from the minors, like seeing this, Majinski and Ashcraft and Burrows, and finally these pitchers. It's great to see that they're getting their shot, but it's not going anywhere. Like, they're not playing meaningful ball for them. Like, I don't know what more to say when you look at all of the pieces that they have put together in the minors with the majors and all the trades that they have not really done. You can't tell me that you came into the season trying to be a better team when you didn't do enough to add on. And I'm not even asking you to spend $20-30 million on payroll. I'm asking you to bring in players that want to play meaningful ball. And I just feel like all we did was accumulate players who wanted to have a starting position. And that's really what it looked like. With the exception of Frazier, the whole Tommy Pham experiment, it just seems like that was not worth that investment. And now we're barely seeing any minor players come up with Nick York, Billy Cook, or Nick Solak. It's like they're not getting any chance because Tommy Pham is a major leaguer who's been in the big leagues for over 10 years, and he's now playing for $4 million. And these guys are probably saying, I can probably hit just as good, if not better, for less. And they just refuse to accept that. So again, the whole story of this is just knowing that they had big names with those years, and it all worked out just because of one-run games. And it's almost the exact opposite now. Like, it seems like that's what they were trying to go for, and it's just not working out for them. So now in my closing with the closer, I'm going to say that it's nice that games like this can happen today. And you do see the matchups that could have been. You could have seen Tariq Skubal take on Paul Skeens, but they're kind of accepting the fact that they are just going through the motions. I really don't know how to suspend this. Like, they have not really gotten out of the pier. Like, their pirate ship has been docked, and it has cannonball holes all through the ship. Like, there's just no way you can take it out and try to do anything. Like, they cannot even get that thing out of the harbor. So I don't know really how to say it, but we've said it many times before with these teams. Like, you have to give something else. Like, they have to try to realize that this needs to change. Like, you've had so many years wasted. I feel like now is the time that you can give us something to actually look forward to. And again, the trade deadline is still a month away, and it's really going to be telling what is going to happen in the next several years if they're going to try to make corrections finally, because I've never heard the fan base with so much voice, with so much sell the team chants, and there's all protests. There's actually billboards now. There's actually some movement going where the voices are actually getting louder. And I really do hope that that continues for this, because it needs to change. I mean, guys, anyone who's a loyal fan for the Pirates, you feel like a parent to a child that doesn't make any effort in school, but you still love your child. Like, that's really what it is to be a Pirate fan. It just seems like we're the parent. The Pirates are our child. We want to see them succeed. We want to see them win. We want to see them be better. And I'm just hoping that, again, keep up with the chance. Keep up with wanting this to happen. The more it happens, the better chance it will have for things to get better. So, I mean, I will see you guys tomorrow for the next episode. I'm going to be previewing the next 2 series, and I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I cannot wait for the next one. So until then, let's go Bucks.